Hey everybody, this is Joel. We're here in my bedroom with the hot pink walls and the big black polka dots for Dryden's weekly hangout. We've got Dan Hunt, Eugene Kelly, and Tracy Vincent with us on the line. We're expecting some other folks to sort of drop in as we go along. There is a rumor that the Laura Conrad, her own real in-person self, may join us here shortly. We had a little bit of confusion about starting times tonight. And so we expect people to stop by based on how badly I confused them with the announcement of the meeting today. Tracy, is there anything especially exciting you'd like to say about the fact that I can't schedule meetings? We'll take that as a no. All
I'm
right.
not saying nothing.
All right, we don't have any time travel in any of the Dryden universes because I can't make it to meetings that I schedule. And if we started moving in time, we'd never make it. Just a real quick introduction to who we are and what we're doing here tonight. The Dryden Experiment is a Creative Commons publishing experiment, if I may be redundant. The idea is that it is super easy to get access to markets these days, whether you're trying to put out an indie game or a book or art, just whatever it is that you're doing. We've got incredible power in our laptops and desktops to create, and we have a lot of easy access to the markets. There's very little need for big publishing houses anymore, just because we can all get to the market ourselves. The problem is that it's very hard to get attention because there are a whole lot of us getting into the markets independently, independent authors especially. There are 12 million books on Amazon, and boy, if you hit Amazon with an unsupported book, it vanishes. Whoosh, it's gone. So what we at the Dryden Experiment do is we build universes in different genre, science fiction, fantasy, horror, steampunk, you name it. We're building in that genre, and the rules are really simple. Anything that you create, or the base universe, is completely covered under the Creative Commons BYSA 4.0 license, which means that anybody who comes along is free to riff on it, just on a couple of conditions. Number one, you've got to credit us. And number two, you have to put the materials that you create under the Creative Commons license also. So you own the book or the game or the whatever that you make, but the characters in it, the events in the story even, are free to be riffed on by somebody else, as long as they'll also make their material available under Creative Commons. So we get really big, fun universes to play in by working with our friends in a cooperative sort of manner, rather than being big rights jerks. Then the other thing that we do is we promote each other. We advertise each other. We support each other. We Facebook each other. We Twitter each other to help overcome that sort of hurdle to get attention in the market. So we have really big, fun universes to play in, and we've got a lot more attention than folks working on their own do. And that is the Dryden Experiment. And every week we get together and hang out. It's supposed to be sort of this roundtable conversation, but somehow I always manage to steamroll the conversation. I think because I'm bossy, but we're not sure exactly what causes that to happen. But we kind of go through what's going on in the universe during the universes during the last week or so. And to give you a little bit of context, Eugene Kelly is one of our authors, Dan Hunt is one of our authors, and Tracy Vincent is one of our authors, artists, and she actually works for me. I own a little publishing house called Dryden House that serves exclusively the authors and artists who are working in the Dryden Experiment. So if you build something and you want to publish it through iUniverse or Lulu or however you want to publish it, or market it, if it's a game or a movie or something, you're free to do that. If you'd like our help, we're available to you. So that's how we work and who we are. So let me just start with sort of an open hello for the evening. How's everybody feeling? Anybody have any sort of hot topics or interesting things that they'd like to set us off on tonight?
Uh, I've been doing a lot. I'm working on a new. I've got a bunch of new ideas, and I'm working on a new story right now. It's gonna be different from the others. It's not gonna be the same type of kind of heavily Well, it's gonna be a little bit. It's gonna be very different. It's gonna be more kind of an action story mixed in with just some stuff I really can't. Yeah, difficult to explain. There are actually two stories. Several stories we got in the mix, but there's one I've been writing. Then you sent back that email to me about that one I wrote. That was a lot of these early stories, not all of them, but a lot of them are more introductory stories to some of these characters.
Awesome.
So that's why it seemed like there was a plot, but it didn't really seem to go anywhere in terms of like a big story. That was one of the reasons why it was like that.
Very
Um,
good.
and so were you gonna say something?
I was going to ask, are the stories you're working on in the horror genre?
Hmm.
All right, very good. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Eugene, Eugene Kelly is one of the authors that works with us. He will be, I think, probably first published with us in a story collection called Rise of the Europan that we'll get to in a little bit. But I think that Eugene's real passion is the horror stories, and we will also be talking about our first short story collection in the horror genre. So, Eugene is prepping us for conversations about things going on in the horror universe. That's exciting, Eugene. Do you have any idea when you're likely to have drafts of those stories done?
Um, I really can say I'm kind of one thing in ties with the Rise of the European. I'm actually going back and deleting a lot of what I had before and kind of starting over because honestly, it was good writing, it was a good story, but I just didn't think it was alien enough. If you read it, you'd almost think the European was just a human being, kind of a crazy human being, but a human being nonetheless. So I really want to sort of go back and write something that's completely fully immersive. So at bet you'll have a general vague idea of what's going on, but it'll be 100% clear that it is not a human thinking. So I'm going back and redoing a lot of Rise of Europe, and so I'm still gonna be working on some of those other stories, but until then, I'm going to be working hard on Rise of Europe.
All right, all right. I think that rough draft day for Rise of the Europan is officially 9 days from now. Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. So, nervous? Tracy, nervous? Rise of the Europan day coming?
Always.
All right. Well, Eugene is rewriting, so don't feel like you're the only one who's still working on that project. All right. Well, how we sort of usually run is we kind of go through it. I'm sorry. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to sort of jump in with that was hot on the top of their mind that they wanted to start with?
Oh, we had a big release this week.
Something exciting happened this week. What was it,
Yeah,
Tracy?
Lorelei, You'll Never Die.
Lorelei, You'll Never
Actually
Die.
got live. Woo! You can
Woo.
buy it everywhere.
On Amazon. In
Finally.
Yes, in print and electronic on Amazon, so it's available on Kindle. It's
Yep.
also available on Smashwords and Kobo and iUniverse and iBooks and
And
where else?
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble has it.
Yep.
And we went through this morning all of the different Amazons around the planet, and it's there. Amazon
Mm-hmm.
Japan had it, Amazon Mexico had it, Amazon Germany had it,
Yep.
Amazon
Amazon
Canada has it,
England,
and Amazon England.
UK. Yeah.
The only place that I didn't find it, Amazon has a very small presence in China through a different vendor, and they had not populated it to China. So, dag nabbit.
Are you going to show your copy?
Huh? Oh,
Are you going to show your
my
copy?
copy. We better get out my copy. It's pretty exciting. So to sort of explain what we're talking about, one of our genres is an apocalypse genre. It starts sort of with the destruction of the planet and is a place to tell your Mad Max, Tank Girl, any sort of post-apocalyptic fiction that you might be interested in writing. And our very first, oh, here's my box of books. Our very first book in the genre was written by our very own Laura Conrad, and it's called Lorelei, You'll Never Die. And look, it's three-dimensional. It has a front, sides, back, and it's completely full of words. It is an awesome story, and we have been working on it. When did we start working on it, Tracy? February?
May 21st is when I got it.
May 21st is when Tracy got it, and actually I'd had it before that. The sort of progenitor, which was just a couple of the stories that ended up becoming this novel, and it is fabulous.
I think Laura said that it was, what, 3 years in the making?
That's right. She said that the first short story that she wrote, which was Kill or Be Killed, was 3 years ago, so that would be 2012.
Yeah.
So this is a book that has come a long way. We tried to write a list of people that we needed to thank, and we ended up with 12 or 15 people that we could readily identify, and we still had ARC readers and reviewers and bloggers that we hadn't gotten to yet. A whole lot of really fabulously talented people were involved in the production of this book and the support of this book. You want to shout a few folks out, Tracy, that really worked hard for this book to bring this book into existence?
Gavin,
Gavin,
definitely.
Gavin Revitt,
Gavin,
our artistic director out of
yeah,
Sheffield, England.
he did the cover art, and he won the argument on spine text.
That's right. We had the great spine text debate, and Gavin won the debate. There is spine text.
And and just off the top of my head, Raina and Rebecca and Ashley and Meredith Winters and two Kellys,
I'm not
and
sure who they are.
one Kelly P, and one of them is Kelly, who writes for the book Curmudgeon, which is a blog.
Right.
And
the whole of the book Curmudgeon, we want to extend thanks to.
Yes, because
to us.
They were really awesome. And then Damien, who's a fellow author for Dryden, not only read it and reviewed it, he also posted a blog post about it.
Don Van Osdal, who is
Don Van Osdal, did too. And that's all I can think off the top of my head that actually helped out. But there were so many people on Facebook and on Twitter, and that I can't even give you names for, that has put the Lorelei cover as their Facebook icon picture.
Yes.
They have posted and retweeted constantly about it coming out, posting teasers. So this is definitely a village effort.
That's right. It took a village to raise this idiot. There's one person that I think that you've forgotten off of that list.
Joel, right?
No, Tracy Vincent edited this book. And it's really it was really a wonderful experience. The original project that I suggested to Laura, Laura loves to write little short apocalypse stories, and I suggested to her that we take a collection of her short stories and put them together into a short story collection. And Tracy was just coming on board with Dryden House at that point, and I said, you know what, Tracy, Laura is just sort of my favorite author. This is actually the second book by her that I've published. And I'd like for you to take it on. And when Tracy looked at it, she said, the deal is this is a novel that hasn't been finished. And she and Laura sat down and identified all of the pieces of the novel that had been written and the pieces that hadn't been written yet. And it was just a fantastic exercise. And I think that Laura and Tracy will probably be friends for life now. And I think we've done sort of a BFF thing. Tracy was telling me earlier today about a conversation that she's been having with Laura's boyfriend. And I was like, yeah, you guys have gone over the top. That's the next level right there. So,
speaking of, he did read it, and I think he's getting a review posted soon. Sorry.
Awesome. So yes, a wonderful experience. And so that's our apocalypse universe. That universe is wide open. We are going to eventually do a invitation for new authors and artists to come in and start working in that universe, probably as a short story collection. There's some talk that we may bring in one of Owlman Press's role-playing games and involve it in the Apocalypse universe, but that's kind of a difficult discussion because there are already people working in that role-playing game, and trying to get rights would be a little bit confusing. It's much easier to sort of start over fresh and build under Creative Commons and try to secure rights from everybody. So we are talking to Owlman, but I'm kind of dubious that that's going to happen. But we'll continue that conversation, certainly. Nicholas Mall owns Owlman, and he's a fabulous guy to work with. He's in Ballarat, Australia. We'll talk more about him later. So, Lorelei, You'll Never Die. It's on the shelf. I feel certain that there will be hyperlinks in the comment section below how to get your own copy. It's available in e-version, print version, anywhere on the planet. Wander into a random bookstore and ask them to look it up for you. It will be listed in Bacher's Books in print starting the 1st of September, and literally any place that can order a book will be able to get you a copy. And only $9.99 for a big, thick spine and everything. How can you beat that? All right, Lorelei, You'll Never Die is our apocalypse universe. Since we have several of our sci-fi folks here with us, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the science fiction universe. The very first universe that we built was our science fiction universe, and so it's sort of the granddaddy and the biggest, and it looks like we think all of our universes will eventually look. I was trying to figure out how many different authors and artists have worked in the science fiction universe at this point, and the number is somewhere over 20. By the time you start thinking about Charlotte Garnier's contributions with the cybernetic space whales and Nigel Kerr's contributing all of the company logos that he contributed, and Joaquin Garcia, who did the great drawings of the Space Marines, we have just got an amazing collection of talent, some of whom aren't really working with us anymore. They seem to have sort of drifted off, and a whole cadre of folks who are still with us. It's just exciting. Every time we turn around, there's something new going on in the science fiction universe. I wanted to talk about just a couple of them. I want to continue to talk about Greta van der Rohe and Demon's Eye and A Matter of Trust. Greta took a look at what Dryden was doing. She's an author out of Australia. She really liked what we were doing, and she took 2 of her books and added them to our science fiction universe, 2 books that already existed. They're set pretty far in the future. They're 20,000 years out in the future, which is a lot farther out than a lot of our science fiction authors write in. Both very enjoyable books. The Demon's Eye is a novella, and A Matter of Trust is a short novel. The sort of entertaining thing that I want to keep mentioning about those books, both of them have strong romance elements in them. The science fiction romance element is one of those sort of subgenres that struggles to get attention and keep saying, we're out here, we're doing things that are valid, and Greta is doing very enjoyable things. So I wanted to, right off the top, when we just talked about science fiction, plug what Greta is doing. She expanded our universe literally by an entire empire at the stroke of a pen. She just put the Dryden logo on it, and away we went, and that was a lot of fun. Dan, you are here with us, and you are very close to releasing a very enjoyable novel called The Eclipsing of Cyrus B. You want to talk about what's going on with Cyrus B this week?
Yeah, so the final proofs for both of the covers for the hardback and soft copy have been finalized. The final version's finalized, and I'm supposed to get back the final manuscript to look at this week. So I'm very, very close on that.
Awesome.
Then, speaking of Gavin went and took the cover art that he did and designed a T-shirt out of it. So we're still figuring out what we're going to do with these T-shirts, but they've actually gone to print. It'll probably be some sort of giveaway during a launch party or something. So we'll figure that out. So that'll be fun because I don't think we've had T-shirts before, so it'll just be an interesting thing.
Oh, I don't think we have.
We have posters and
yep.
At one point we had stamps. I don't know if we.
They're still out there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody's ever purchased them, but yeah, we did find out that we could make custom Dryden stamps, and so we made stamps at one point. I'd have to go look and see if they're still available, but I'll bet they still are. Well, that's great. Do you want to talk a little bit about Eclipsing? Give us sort of teasers, things that will make us hopeful and excited for the day when we'll finally be able to read it. I have read it. Shh.
It's an interesting story. I've tried to blend a little bit of Dryden with space opera with a little bit of harder science that I kind of like, so that there's a little bit in there for everybody. I think it's a very quick read. It wasn't originally, as my editor told me, and I went through and checked out all of my favorite stuff, took it all out. But what happens is that really increased the pace of the novel. Which means I think most people will probably read it in just a couple hours because it's a fast read. And it's basically the coming together of a pretty odd group of folks and their job is to go hack into an alien computer system. They've got a religious fanatic who's trying to kill all of them, unbeknownst to all of them. Um, there's a technical wizard who speaks technical gibberish all the time, which was fun research, by the way. And then I've got a spy, basically. Well, I guess that's a dual character. But the two main characters I've got is it's a Marine captain who gets promoted throughout the course of the novel. But the way it kind of works in space is I look at the use of military forces in space just like a conventional Navy. So you don't have Army troops on a Navy ship. You've got Marines. That's why a lot of times I drift towards Marines because they're the ones that get off of the ships. This one. So,
right.
Although I'm starting to think about broadening that out in a novel that I'm thinking about writing. So, but anyway, it follows this Marine who's trying to redeem her brother, who is also a Marine who deserts during a particular nasty little civil war between the Federation and Consortium planets. And to do that, she has to go and hack into this alien computer system. And then, without trying to give away spoilers, obviously something goes terribly wrong.
Or else we wouldn't have a novel.
Yes. So I won't go farther down the plot that way, but it's and just like you're talking about how long it took Laura to write this story. I think I actually wrote the opening scene in like 1990, and it's been sitting in my drawer since then.
Now, was that the combat sequence that is now the opening sequence of the novel?
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
I'd actually been doing live fire exercises at Fort Benning, and I had to stay up late to clean the mud off my uniform, get ready for the next day. And I couldn't sleep because I was all jazzed up, so I sat down at the computer and wrote the opening scene. And then it's been sitting in a box until I decided to make it my last short story for a short story collection, but that turned into a novel. So it's
well, I have two questions for you about Eclipsing. That's a great backstory. That opening combat sequence in Eclipsing really sets the pace for the entire novel. It's a great place for that novel to start, and it's interesting to know that it's 15 years old, started as a live fire exercise at Fort Benning, Georgia. That's fabulous. Damien, I just want to say hi. Damien Roach has joined us. Damien, and I have two questions for you, Dan. First of all, will it be available? Will Eclipsing of Cyrus C be available in EPUB versions? Will there be electronic versions available for folks?
Yeah, I'm publishing through iUniverse. Who, back in the day when I started doing this, I wrote poetry, strangely enough, but they were what were they called? Writers Press, and they've been bought several times since then. So I've always used them. So yeah, it'll be hard copy, soft copy, and then wherever they put their stuff. I think Penguin bought them out recently. So.
Okay. And then I have one other question. If I promise not to give spoilers, can I tell people about Tianjin?
Sure.
Okay. One of the really exciting things about working in the Dryden experiment is that the authors and artists who you work with are also growing the universe. I don't think that you could say yet that the Dryden sci-fi universe is a Star Wars-sized universe, but it is bigger now than one person can comfortably keep track of the whole thing. It would take some serious nerddom to know the whole thing. And one of the locations that Dan created for this novel is appearing in the role-playing game also. It's been fully incorporated into the universe. It's a fabulous location. Gavin Revitt drew a star map for it, so we have the entire star system mapped out, and it's Tianjin. And what is so exciting about Tianjin is it's a failed star. The star never ignited. And so what you have are just millions of these asteroids floating around out there in this failed star system, and it's a great place to be doing whatever it is that you don't want people to know that you're doing. So if it's gambling dens, blood sport arenas, retired dictators who don't want to ever answer to their actions, blah, 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 blah. The odds are pretty good that they can be found somewhere in Tianjin because it's almost impossible to find people in Tianjin. And so what you get is this environment where traders and business people will go to mainline systems and buy luxury goods and whatever the ne'er-do-wells that live out in Tianjin happen to want, and then take them off grid to bring them into the system. And Dan's characters end up there at one point in the story. So we won't talk about what it is that they're doing, but it was a really interesting and exciting location, and it's already been incorporated and expanded out into the larger Dryden universe, and I was really excited about that. So wonderful stuff. So a couple other things going on in the Dryden universe this week that are sort of active and happening right now. Rise of the Europan, which is a short story collection. It's set in the year 2600, and it describes the day that the Europan, which is the creature that lives on the bottom of the ocean of Europa, which is a moon of Jupiter, decides that it's had enough and it's going to throw the humans off the planet. And the exciting thing that's happened with that is that we've taken a total of 6 authors on board, each writing a different short story about that event, and they've been having weekly meetings on Wednesday nights to hash out the details and talk back and forth. And rough draft is coming on September the 1st. Dun, 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 dun. And with this, we have Eugene, who is writing the stories about the Europan and was talking about that a little bit ago. Dan, who has written a short story that happens actually before, that's sort of a prelude. Damien, who is writing the story of the Marines on the planet's surface at the time. And Tracy, who is writing the after story that follows up the experiences seen from a completely third planet. So all 4 of you, welcome to the excitement. How exciting. What a fabulous story. How's everybody doing? How close are you? How intimidated by the coming of September 1st are you? What are you passionate about the stories? I picked Damien to talk first because Damien never talks first. Damien, now you have to speak because I said your name out loud. How's Rise of the Europan going?
It's going pretty well. The past couple days, I haven't really done much of anything. Been having some issues just keeping up with work, and one of my teeth is my. I don't want to get too much into it. My teeth are driving me insane.
Okay.
So it's been a rough couple days, but overall, I'm feeling really good about it. The scene that I stopped on when I was about I don't know, maybe like a third of the way into this scene that I started, and it's a part of the story where they think reinforcements are coming, and so they're getting prepared for this. And you know, the thing is, they don't realize just how tenuous their grasp of what's going on is. So like when the reinforcements show up, it's only a matter of minutes before almost all of them have already been killed before they touch the ground. So it's a really big dramatic scene, but it also just, again, it underlines the point of, you know, just how outmatched they are. So right for me, it was an important scene to put in the story, and it's not finished yet, but I like where it's going, and I think it'll be one of the big pieces of the whole story.
So let me ask sort of a challenge question, and I'll ask it to the group as a whole. One of the things that's a little bit unusual about this story is that we sort of know it's going to go badly for the humans in the end. We know, because we know the Dryden universe history, that the Europan is successful not just on Europa, but pretty much in the entire Sol system and everywhere else that it goes. Is it awkward? Is it odd? Is it depressing to be writing the losing side story, and then for Eugene, who is writing from the perspective of the Europan, is it sort of you know, my team wins? What is that like? Go ahead, Eugene. I'm calling Eugene now.
Like I said, I I mean, Damien, you didn't hear this, but I'm going back. I basically I haven't done. I may not get rid of everything, but a lot of stuff I have, I'm scrapping because the problem was I was writing the European as sounding a little too human. You could tell from the way it describes itself that's not human, but its mind was too human. It sounded more like a video game. It sounded almost like a mad scientist with a bunch of weird monsters using to attack people. It just didn't have the same vibe that I wanted. So I'm going back, and I'm gonna try um, to try to have it where it's make it as just as seeming as alien as possible. Obviously intelligent, but the kind of thing where it's just doing what it's doing because it's doing it. Yes, it wants to kick off the humans. Yes, it's tired of the humans, but really, it's just basically a big mean, almost like a big mean animal that is just pushing off the humans off the planet one by one. It is intelligent. I'm going to make it very clear that this is a very intelligent being, but it does not think like people. It does not see the universe the way like people. One thing I'm going to get into mind. There's going to be the concept of perfume. Perfume, I mean, is sort of the pheromones and the scent given off by the different creatures. Now, from the point of view of the Europa, it's going to smell very good. For the humans, I'm going to show that the humans, it's going to be the most rancid, ugly, disgusting, vile smell they've ever experienced. But it's just going to be. I'm sort of going back. I'm looking at. Obviously, it's going to be aliens about a lot of weird stuff you wouldn't see on Earth, but I'm going to weave in some of the aspects of some of the deep sea creatures we see on Earth. Again, it's going to be just this idea of this thing that just is rising up, and its motivations can somewhat be understood, but its mindset, its vibe, and the way it sees the world are completely different from how the humans see it. And it'll be a little bit difficult to write that, but I think, as I said before, I showed that I was showing too much that it was inhuman. I was like, okay, this thing's got teeth, this thing's got. I'll have some of that there, but I want to make it very clear that this is an alien and that you're inside the mind of something that just does not think like a person.
Awesome, awesome. So, they always say it's the quiet one, and I just want to point out that of all of the strange and alien creatures and bizarre discussions that go on in Dryden, including in the Dryden horror, it was Damien who posted the picture of the blue whale heart on Facebook as something that might motivate and inspire us, because that wasn't gross at all. So just thanks for that, Damien.
You're welcome.
The quiet one. All right. So, Tracy, just to kind of finish this, talking about the European up a little bit, you have sort of the tag story, and the humans have lost. It didn't go well at all. Is that awkward? Is that hard? Is it counterintuitive?
No.
All right.
Well, there's a big difference, though, where my character is, she's on a different planet, and she has the ability to communicate with European, unbeknownst to her, and then she figures this out. And so she has the ability to get people off of the planet Aurelia, which is where she lives. And that's completely different than what's going on Europa itself with Damien's story and with Kitty and Dawn's story. And so they don't have a choice. They don't have this, you have 10 cycles type, dialogue that they have. The European did not give them a chance. But the European is giving her a chance, since it has not gotten to Aurelia yet. It's like we'll be there soon. And if you can get your people out into space, then if we encounter them in space, we won't attack them. But if there's anybody left on the planet, they're gone. It's their problem. And the way I see it is hey, you have the chance to get your crap and get out, and you don't. Well, it's not like you weren't warned that it was coming. So yeah, I don't have much sympathy. I don't care.
Right on.
They should go back and read my story, and they'll find out what happens if they don't let you.
See?
That's
exactly.
Right.
If only they had your story first, Dan.
I just want to call Dan's story out a little bit. The proposal that we put forward was the alien creature that lives on Europa, and it's been there for thousands and thousands of years or millions of years or whatever, rises up and decides that it needs to eject humans from the planet. Please submit a short story. Dan Hunt's response was, "This looks like a good place for noir." And he sent us this great, it's a great story. I want to take absolutely nothing away from the story, and it works and it fits with what it's meant to do. But he sent us this noir, I don't think the word dame appears in the story, but it was damn close. It's absolutely the tough guy and the beautiful girl in a bar. And I don't want to spoil it all because it does turn out to be about the Europan and about the rise of the Europan and what the Europan is doing. But I spent the first 20 minutes that I was reading the story going, Dan, did you read what we're trying to, did you send me the wrong story? And finally I got to the part where we get it around to the Europan and I went, oh, that's brilliant. Okay, that was great. So Dan Hunt, the noir fish alien story writing guy, it was a good thing. I think all four of you have read it, haven't you? Or the other three of you have read Dan's story. That was just fabulous. I really enjoyed that a lot. All right, so Rise of the Europan is coming. The next thing that's happening that's just bigger than sliced bread is Big Damn Dryden, which is the role-playing game that takes place in the science fiction universe. It's being built by Nicholas Mall in Ballarat, Australia, who owns Owlman Press, is in Ballarat, Australia with Nick looking for final go-ahead. We have got it laid out. We've got cool little boxes around things. We've got 40 pieces of art. Tracy, back me up. 30 pieces of art. From corporation logos to planetary star maps to pictures of space whales. The space combat system is complete. It's been play tested twice. Once in Ballarat and once in Manhattan, Kansas, and will soon be play tested a third time in Salmon, Idaho, I believe. But it's all working. The game is there. It's done. We are really, really close. It feels very exciting. What we're going to do is we're going to do a stripped-out version of the game that doesn't have all of the character abilities in it. You wouldn't be able to build a character based on what we've got in the game, but has all of the environments and has some pre-built characters and a scenario. And we're going to give away 100 free copies of that ahead of launch to get it out into the market and draw attention. And then we'll release to both print and electronic version, and we'll go to RPG Now and Drive-Thru RPG, as well as Smashwords and Amazon and the sort of conventional marketplaces. It's really exciting. We got the go-ahead today to do a Kickstarter, and we're going to have a $0 Kickstarter. We're funded. You know, there's no funding goal. We're good. We're ready to go. But what we'll do is you can just sign up and say, hey, I want a copy of the free sample, or you can make a donation to get yourself an electronic copy when we release, or a larger donation to get a print copy when we release. And we want to do that not because we need the pre-funding, but because a whole lot of gamers and sci-fi fans hang out on Kickstarter, as well as thousands of other interesting people who might be interested in what we're doing. And to me, it has just been the coolest synthesis in the whole world. You know, Charlotte Garnier's race is in there. Dan Hunt's environments are in there. As a matter of fact, Dan has two different story sections, one story section. I think we only ended up with one piece of actual story from Dan that's in there and quoted, but several of his environments are in there. Gavin's art is in there. Just, you know, the whole concept at the beginning was that I wanted this giant universe that I could play around in, and I didn't ever think I was going to get it written myself, so I put it under Creative Commons so that everybody could participate. And, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Gee. I was proofreading the space combat rules written by Nick Mall with sample art by Don Van Osdal and Gavin Revitt. in the universe that I built with a story section from Dan Hunt. I'm there. I'm there. That's it. I'm done. We made it. It was the most awesome feeling in the universe. It was just incredible. So Big Damn Dryden will, I think 99% certain at this point, release a pre-version in September and the full version in October. We are very close. We're going gangbusters. So wonderful. Did anybody else have any comments about Big Damn Dryden? It's a big project. Did I leave anything out, Tracy, that we needed to mention?
Not that I can think of.
Super sexy cover art by Gavin Revitt.
And the layout done by Joel.
Layout done by Joel Stottlemyre, and Damien stepped away for a minute. That's cool.
And red letters by me.
And Tracy put red letters all over the whole thing. Yes.
And I got the thing. I got the thing done in Australian English. I am very proud of myself.
Armor has a U in it.
Yes, and defense has a C.
And defense has a C. That's right.
Yes.
We
that
decided
really threw me off.
It makes me nuts too. One of the ratings is your defense rating, and all the way through the whole thing, it's DEFENCE. It's just it twerks me.
Yeah, but since Nick is Australian, we wanted it to reflect its origin, and we wanted it to be consistent throughout. So we made sure that it was edited in Australian English.
Yep.
There was a booger, but it was done.
Woohoo! And Tracy did that.
And I did it, and I red lettered all over the place.
That's right. And very well done at that. Yeah, so it is a fantastic looking project. I think we even know what our print and electronic version prices will be. We kind of need to see our final layout to commit to that number, but we are so close. And then the last thing is that the book that I'm writing in the science fiction universe, which is Alder's World, Part 1 is in print already, and Part 2, my crack editing team has been hard at work all week, and I'm sure that I'm seconds away from getting back my first edit.
No, you're not for me. I've been busy all week. So I start crack editing on that tomorrow or Monday, depending if I can get my boy to leave me alone tomorrow.
Look at the power I wield. I say, I want that edited now, and Tracy goes, yeah, I'm busy this week.
You know, I had Lorelai, dude. I am so sorry. I feel for you. But Lorelai took a lot of effort, and my son's half birthday was today. So, yeah, nope, sorry, I feel for you. So
that's right.
I have it. It's like dead center of my monitor, so it's the first thing I see in the middle of my mushroom. So it'll be done. It'll be done by the end of the week. But yeah, sorry, Bill, for you, because it's not going to happen today.
Be careful of the things you see in the middle of your mushroom. They are not what they appear to be. That's my entire first year of college gone in a second. Anyway, all right, so hopping universes, the Dryden Steam universe continues to be out there. We are sort of doing introductions to universes one at a time by inviting authors and artists to come in and participate in a short story collection. And the Steam universe is moving forward. We have rights to Etherhertz, which is a series of 7 books written in German by Anya Bogus, and that translation is happening. And Coalbridge, which is another city in that universe, continues to have development in it, but it's not real active yet. We will do a short story collection around Coalbridge, probably starting in October. So it's floating out there, but it's not real active. Dryden Horror, which is sort of championed by Damien and Eugene, is getting very close to the launch of its short story collection. That is also set for the 1st of September. And what will happen with that is we've got an introduction to the universe, a very good introduction to the universe that was written by Eugene, and we'll sort of send that out with an introduction to the Creative Commons publishing model and an invitation to artists to join us. And what we would like to see is a weekly meeting start happening around putting together that horror collection like has happened for Rise of the Europan. Damien and Eugene, do you have comments or thoughts, things that we need to be working on right now for that horror collection to get going, get rolling?
Well, first of all, one thing you mentioned that the first you said the first collection will feature the introduction. Obviously, that makes sense. One thing I will say is, it features the introduction, but you say it won't feature any stories in it.
No, it will definitely feature stories,
Okay.
but
He's talking about the call for artists
right,
and authors. So
the
it's going to have an introduction, but it's not going to have stories because he's calling for people to write stories.
right,
Oh,
right.
I was just
That's going to
wondering
happen
like,
September 1st.
okay, because I was just wondering whether or not it would be like I'd have my introduction, and then I would in the first one I'd also have one of my early stories, or if I just have my introduction in there, and then in a later thing I'd start putting my stories in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When we put the short story collection out, you'll be welcome to include at least one story. It'll sort of depend on how many authors we have, whether we kind of want to go just one each, or if that we just don't know what that collection is going to look like yet. But what I'm talking about is just the call to action, and the call to
Okay.
action will just have that what is it, 300 or 400 word introduction that you wrote.
All right, all right.
Dave,
Go ahead, Damon. Sorry.
Damien, what have you got for horror? You got anything you want to put in there right now?
Well, I can tell you that I pretty much know what story I'm going to write for that collection that we're going to do.
Awesome.
I got an idea, and it's going to tie into the other project that I started working on. So there's going to be that too. I can tell you more about it, but I don't want to go into too much detail because I'll just confuse people.
Right
Is it
on.
going to involve Maurice?
It might. It might.
All right. So the sort of the great thing that Damien has done so far that I keep coming back to is he's got this scene in this bar where it's the Wild West and the gunfighter is there and he's drunk and belligerent and the person he's arguing with is the dark priest who serves the dark gods with the glowing runes on the hem of his robe. And I'm like, I don't know where this is going, but it's going to be awesome. I don't know how you could go wrong with that starting. So that is horror, and so hopefully here in about 2 or 3 weeks we'll be putting together a group to write short stories in the horror. That universe is linked by portals. It's sort of an infinite number of dimensions, some of which look very much like ours, and some of which are completely overrun with demon spawn and hell creatures and things that you would never want to meet. And the introduction that Eugene wrote has tied that all together. So that's very exciting. Then the other news that we have today talking about genre is I got a message from Nicholas Mall this week that said, Joel, I want to write a fantasy game. And what I want to do is I want it to be in a fantasy setting that's connected by dimensions, but that doesn't have sort of conventional elf and dwarf creatures. And I said, well, we're Creative Commons, Nick. If somebody wants to write elves and dwarves, we can't stop them. And he goes, okay, but I'm going to build the foundation for it, and I'm not going to include any of those sort of traditional characters. And I said, let's do it. Let's get creative. And so he has started the fantasy universe for us. We haven't really scheduled a date to start a short story collection because he's working on the game, and we're going to sort of let the game lead and then build fan fiction behind it. It's called a periogen, and a periogen is a polygon with an infinite number of sides. And so what he has introduced is a higher dimensional universe, and these creatures, I can't remember the name of them off of the top of my head, learned how to tunnel into the earth in such a way that you will come out in another dimension or another plane, right? So the idea is that authors and artists who are interested in creating are free to create their entire fantasy world with whatever kind of creatures you want. If you want Roman era legions, if you want ghosts and goblins, if you want whatever you want to do, and they will all be linked by this under earth multi-dimensional dungeon, and that dungeon is so big that it has cities and empires and kingdoms in it. There's a sort of an ant-like race that he's invented that is the original. They didn't create the universe, but they're the original diggers of the tunnels, and once upon a time they had a vast empire under there, and it's since fallen on hard times, of course, but it is really, really exciting, and it is absolutely true to Dryden form in that it's not bound. He's building the things he wants, and he's kind of putting them in the core to build the flavor, sort of the same way that Eugene set that dark tone for the horror universe. But then it's going to be totally free, and it's going to be a wonderful environment for people who are working independently on fantasy and want to enjoy the benefits of the Dryden Creative Commons model to sort of bring what they've got and go, dude, there's this tunnel that leads to here. And a lot of freedom for people to create. And that role-playing game that he's built, for those of you who've had a look at the Big Damn Sci-Fi role-playing game that he built, very sort of similar base, and so we're going to be able to build skins for any new races that people create, and then we'll be able to build context skins for them based on the lifestyle. There's this cool creatures that he invented already. I'm really addicted to these guys. Again, I don't have any of the names stuck in my head yet, but this species for some reason was completely dying, and so they built armor skins for themselves that would remain animated once their body died. And so all of them are wandering suits of armor with desiccated, dried corpses inside of them, powered by the spirit. And one of the things that you can do if you're one of these creatures is gain the ability to animate other creatures. So if these guys meet a species that they like, that have skills that they want, they'll throw a suit of armor on it and kill the guy inside. I have the best job in the world. That's just awesome. I was reading that the other day, and I was like, that is so sick. Nicholas, you need therapy. Don't ever get it, but you do definitely need it. Oh, it's wonderful. So we are really, really excited. We're on the very first week, literally. It was, I think, Tuesday of this week that Nick sent me an email, and he said, I'm ready to do it. I want to do a Periogen. I said, let's go. That's what we need. That's how we start. So we now have a huge, unbounded, ready-to-be explored fantasy universe, and all we all need is 70 more hours a week to play around in all the cool environments. That's everything that I had in genre. In the different genre that we have I missed anything? Has anybody got any sort of standouts, topics that I should have covered if I were a better human being?
Well, I've got two comments. One of them goes off. They're both sort of kind of connected to horror, but they're two separate things. One of them goes off what you just talked about. Another one actually goes back to Lorelei.
Okay.
I haven't read Lorelei yet. I want to get around to that soon, as soon as I get the time. Because obviously, people said it's really good. One thing is that I know it's set in the Apocalypse universe.
Yes.
What I was thinking, one idea was that. And I would probably have to talk to Laura. I'd probably talk to her before in the Apocalypse universe, that sounds like something very similar to a possible world that could be within the horror universe, as one of sort of the universes and worlds that maybe is more closed, sort of all the weird monsters and stuff. It's still, it's Apocalypse universe, everything's ruined, but they're not as many creatures. But I had this idea where I mentioned him in the Otoyanji, the sort of, in my mind, the supreme top deity of them all, Jin Patagal. He's the one deity which, at least so far, at least in my case, maybe someone will change that, who can actually is powerful enough to rip open the barriers of a universe and break in. Like, he doesn't need portals. He can just rip open and go straight into a universe, like you saw in the story. I had some idea where he might not necessarily, at least not initially, interact with the people from the Lorelei universe, but where he somehow would enter in there and would do either look around or do some kind of manipulation within that universe. I think that there's a potential for doing that. Obviously, this is Lorelei's universe. The Laura Conrad is much different. I don't want to mess with it too much. But I think there is an idea of possibly having some kind of small connection, at least, to the horror universe. The second thing I want to say is you mentioned about the fantasy, and that sounds awesome. And I forgot the guy's name, terrible names. I would love to talk to him because that sounds very, very much in line with the horror universe. And Dryden is all sort of connected. Now, obviously, it hasn't gotten off at the ground. So I'd have to let it get off the ground before. But I think that collaborations with that guy within that universe have a lot of potential. Like when you described me, I already had some ideas going through my head. So, but those are the main concepts I wanted to get across.
All right, all right. Well, it's a big universe, and we've got a lot of genres, and we've got a lot of things going on in those genres, and I think that eventually the Creative Commons will sort of push the boundaries out between locations and times and events, and it's just sort of a matter of how and when that happens, and how far developed a given genre is before that happens. Anybody else before I go on? Hearing none, we'll go on. I wanted to stop this week. We had this amazing week in Dryden. We are composed out of the most interesting, coolest, badassest people that I know. And I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about we the people, and the good and the bad and the different things that are happening. We continue to deal with cancer here in my house, and that's rough. And then we had bed bugs. Why we had bed bugs, I don't know, but it ended up being this kind of interesting experience because they bring in giant convection ovens and cook your house. And yesterday, the floor, the carpet in my house was reading 135 degrees, and it was trippy. They sealed up the entire house and brought in 4 giant ovens and cooked my house yesterday. We had to put all of the aerosol cans in the bathtub so that they wouldn't explode. It was weird. But I'm assured that we now no longer have insects. So I just wanted to mention that. Damien is very busy with work and having issues with his teeth. Dan got a new house, and then the water pipe broke, and so now he has an indoor pool. And so he's still logging on from the hotel. Everybody that I talked to this week had a things going on. Tracy had her half birthday for her son yesterday, so happy half birthday to her son. Her son's birthday is unfortunately close to Christmas, and so they have today. It was today. So they have the half birthday happens in the middle of the year, and that was today. Tracy also celebrated the very first successful publication of a book that she edited.
Yeah.
She also contributed art to that book, and I think should be recognized and given applause, in addition to our celebrity Laura Conrad, who was going to try to log on today. But the interesting thing is that Laura just posted a message on Facebook a little while ago that said, "We just got the keys." And it was a picture of her brother standing in an empty apartment. So we kind of think that Laura moved today. So big things going on in Laura's world. Don Van Osdal, who is one of our artists, everybody needs to kind of be thinking nice thoughts about Don. He is caught in the fires that are going on in the American Northwest this week. He posted a photograph of the sun at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and you could see the sun as a round ball because it was so smoky where he is. So be thinking about Don this week. Suddenly I feel like a minister, when you do that first part of the sermon before the sermon, and they go, and Ethel's in the hospital again having her... sorry about that. Also, Dawn has a book coming up called Anthology of the Other that is sort of a creature's compendium for the original Big Damn Dryden game by Nick Mall. So applause to Dawn. Anya Bogus just came back from the world's largest LARP, which is live-action role-play. Entire armies of live-action role-players march across Germany every year. She was there for a week. Kitty Sarkozy is in Germany on vacation this week, one of our authors, and Stack Mall, who is Nicholas Mall's wife, did a photo collection. Nick has a game called Frankenstein Atomic Frontier, which is Frankenstein monsters in the American West after the nuclear holocaust, or it's not just the American West, it's the whole world, but it's a Western setting after the nuclear holocaust. And so what Stack did was went and got a bunch of friends and made them all up as Frankenstein monsters from the far west, almost kind of steampunk looking kind of thing. And that is now a touring show moving around Australia, and Nick couldn't be with us tonight because he was in some city with an interesting name in Australia with a photo exhibit. So, we are composed of the people, and one of our core tenets is that we are about cross promoting and supporting each other. And just as I got to thinking about this meeting tonight, I wanted to spend time talking about the amazing things, good and bad, that are happening to Dryden peeps. We are the weirdest, coolest bunch of folks on the planet. And I want to thank all of you, and I want to encourage everybody to take a moment and go see Stack's art, or send on a supportive email, or email or mail Damien some Ambusol, or whatever it takes to get everybody through this week, because damn are we busy. I just had two sort of business notes that I wanted to talk about, and then we'll wrap up. I told Damien that I was going to work on the website this week, and that was a bald-faced lie, and I'm a dog, and I should be punished. I will work on the website this week. The universe just ate my website project. I actually sat down and logged on, and I don't remember if the phone rang or the baby cried or something. And I'm a bad person. All right. And then the other thing that I wanted to comment about, we had this interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago with a woman who is involved in business in China, and she kind of talked about maybe doing Chinese translations, and then it evaporated. And when I talked to her about it again, she was like, "Oh yeah, well, I got to get my taxes done," and blah blah blah. And I kind of think we lost her. But while talking to Anya Bogus today, Anya said that she is as excited about taking English language Dryden books and publishing them in German as she is in bringing Atherhurt's books out of the German to publish in England. In English. And with the way modern publishing works, we just go to CreateSpace or whatever our publisher that we want to use is, and publish a German language version. Bakker's Books and Print handles foreign language books. They don't bat an eye. You just put a list for what language it's in. And if and when we get back to that conversation with Anya, we're really in a pretty good place to publish in German. If she can do the translation, we can market, or we can put into production, and then she can market in Germany. And she really likes the book publishing business, and she really likes Creative Commons, and her concerns were how long it would take her to get started on a project like that. But it looks today like, given enough time, we are likely eventually to start moving books into German to put them in the German marketplace. They're all on Amazon.de right now, but they're all in English, and that makes them a little hard to promote. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It looks like a nice opportunity for us that will develop. So, you guys, here we are conquering the entire world with Creative Commons. Final comments, thoughts, last remarks, people who want to offer me ice cream, anything?
I have no ice cream.
I have cupcakes.
I'll take a cup.
I have cupcakes.
Damien, it's okay, Damien. I let you down, you let me down, as long as we can still be friends. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kill this meeting. Anybody who wants to just stick around and chat, that's groovy. I want to give a shout out to Gavin Revitt, who does spectacular work for us. I don't know if you've noticed, but like 8 times today I've mentioned wonderful things that he does, and I know that every week he comes and watches this meeting later. It's about 3 in the morning in England right now, and bless his heart, he's sound asleep. But he does come back and watch all these, so I want to shout him out. And we will maybe next week or 2 weeks from now have our weekly meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so that it's early evening in Europe, and we'll see if we can get Anya Bogus and Mikey Vesa and Gavin on the line with us. I also have ambitions of finding Nigel Kerr. I know that he was injured about a year ago now and kind of dropped out of sight because he was dealing with a pretty serious injury, but he was a wonderful contributor when he was working with us, and I'd like to bring him back, and I'll maybe use an evening meeting as an opportunity to do that. So you guys, this is just so much fun. Especially this week, launching Lorelei and just being wrapped up in that. What a great great project. I want to personally thank everybody for their involvement. Anybody, anything else? I'm about to turn it off. And we're done. Thanks, everybody.